Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dan Hahn, and this is my American Identities project. To make it interesting, we thought we would get a little more colorful. You can see we have a nice spread of delicious Doritos Locos tacos, and this is our taco talk on video games and their impact on American culture, vice versa, American impact on video game culture. We're going to be looking at 4 games tonight. The quintessential American classic, Modern Warfare 3, followed with Skyrim, Dark Souls, and the Halo franchise. Hopefully going to be looking into the kind of the future of where we see that going. Halo 4 developments there. Very exciting. A lot of it's kind of just rumor right now, but for the most part we will be discussing what we've heard and bringing that to the table, if you will. So without further ado, let's get started on our first installment, Modern Warfare 3, and I'm going to have a couple friends help me out with this, so guys, if you could step right in and we'll get this show on the road. So taking a look at Modern Warfare 3, and especially in its relationship to Modern Warfare 2, it really fell flat with gamers. Although it did get some great critical attention, gamers will tell you everywhere, it's the same game. That's what you hear all the time. Although I will argue that it certainly has a few different developments in multiplayer. For the most part, the campaign essentially is exactly the same as Modern Warfare 2.
I will say that the single player has a sort of essence to it where in the second game they really knew where they wanted to go with it. They had a goal set up and they knew how to get from point A to point B. Mm-hmm. In this game it felt like they were reusing a lot of the stuff that they used in the previous game, and also
sounds like Michael Bay.
So it was very you could say that it was very Michael Bay-esque, where it was like you knew what was coming.
Yeah, you definitely, there were no surprises. It was explosive, it was fun, but it was just, didn't bring to it, especially Treyarch, Black Ops had some nice twists in there. Infinity Ward kind of fell flat. I will say though, while the multiplayer is its shining point, even that didn't seem to please gamers, and I want to point out that I think it's less about its similarity to Modern Warfare 2, but that American culture is moving away from the straight shooter, faceless character kind of game that came out of the modern era of 9/11.
Yeah, because when you think about 9/11 and the years following that, when games like this come out, everyone's just like, I want to be a hero, I want to be this guy that goes out and saves so many lives. But
yeah, it wasn't about what his name was. It was you were a soldier, you were an American. That was what was important at the time then.
I think now that our tastes in video games are changing to the fact that
American
we want to,
in general,
exactly, where our needs are pretty much, we want a good character to be playing as, and we want a good story. Mm-hmm. And I feel like Call of Duty is all about gunfighting.
It's all about the multiplayer, it's all about the gunfight, and it's a very shallow level. I mean, the most customizable features, like you can put a nice little symbol on your gun.
That's
about it.
You have no personal interaction with the person that you're role playing as, especially in the campaign. Like, all you get is a name. You have no idea where he came from, what he's doing there.
He's just kind of chilling.
He's just there to be...
You even change. It's a different character every, 3 levels. You get a new guy.
Exactly. So it's very hard to distinguish yourself as, I am this guy, I need to get this stuff done.
Very different from our next game. We're going to be looking at Skyrim, and you've been playing that a little bit, and we're going to take a quick look at what that looks like. Now Skyrim came out, I think it was in December. I remember the joke was spending Christmas in Skyrim. Literally, you start playing this game, it is so immersive You will lose friends and family. Friends and family.
You stop playing the game and it's gone 48 hours.
Yeah, it's like, what was it, Animal Crossing, where it's like real time?
Yeah.
So it's like backwards, that made sense in my brain.
But
Yeah, no, I get it.
You get it?
I
You get it?
yeah.
We might have a diagram for that later, I don't know. Yeah, there it is.
Just cover Jared's
It's amazing what he can do with
Why?
graphics.
No reason.
Okay.
Well, anyways, Skyrim comes out, hits the market, instant success. Everyone loves it. Everyone, the first night PC, everyone's playing it. All your friends are like, Skyrim.
Yeah. We interviewed one guy on the bus. And
Oh, yeah,
he
he
loves
was-
Skyrim.
Yeah, it's slaying dragons, it's Nordic adventure. But what really sells this game, I think, is the fact that it is so much a personal experience. You create the character.
Totally.
It's a story as you want it to be. Kind of like those, go to page 48.
Those Goosebumps,
Yeah.
choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
Which I always hate.
I love those.
I read it straight through and be like, this makes no sense.
You didn't read the directions.
I just, sticking it to the man one book at a time. But, yeah, you get, basically it starts it off and you can choose, there's like a magic guy, a thief guy, or a sword guy. And the thing that I really liked about Skyrim in particular, because that's a pretty common thing to see in games. Skyrim, though, if you pick like magic guy, by the end, you could have made choices that makes so you are now a sword guy. Like, you can change it. You can always change it. Your options are always there. And not only that, but you can be, I think you were saying, a good guy or a bad guy, depending on how you see your character.
You literally get to choose who you are in that game.
A big difference from Modern Warfare 3, where they give you a cookie cutter, basically as cookie cutter as it gets.
Yeah.
It's literally just like follow this straight path.
Yep.
In this game, you're able to pretty much travel pretty much the size of a continent.
Yeah, it's big.
It's
It's
huge.
big. Yeah, everyone's asking you to do random things for them. You're meeting trolls and giants and whatnot. It's a massive scrolling adventure, ripe with options, which is unlike Mass Effect, which is kind of the same basic thing. Mass Effect, you only really get like 3 choices. This game, you have a whole tree of choices. I think they actually have like some sweet constellation. You can go up the path and choose it.
Yep.
It's pretty cool.
It is. It's interesting.
That's kind of, they have a lot of culture in this. There's a lot of things like that, going back to Nordic culture, going back to Western,
You
medieval
learn
culture.
history.
Yeah.
You learn.
Easter eggs here, stories.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, great segue, guys, into our next game, Dark Souls, which culture. A Japanese game company develops Dark Souls, which is set in the medieval West. So like knights and castles, but with a lot of the undertones of a Japanese society, which the symbols and stuff, everything in there, it really takes an interesting tone, a foreign tone. Good job, that's fine. I'll fall into the tacos there. And we're going to take a look at that real quick, see if we can get a feel for what this game is like. Dark Souls. Wow, that was a long clip. That one lasted a while. Change of venue, change of clothes.
It's because of the Taco Bell.
Tacos are gone, yeah, the recovery from that. We were punching the tacos, hard shells didn't crack, they molded into our fist. Little,
They didn't even crunch.
They didn't even
just,
crunch.
They just went.
Let's not do that again. Taco Talks we might have to come up with something new for that.
Maybe less tacos.
Less tacos, more
Like
more
5.
Yeah, 10. The weight was what got it. The weight was made them soggy.
Yeah.
Anyways, returning to the topic at hand, the new game we're looking at right now, Dark Souls. This game in particular, it doesn't really feature anything spectacular in gameplay. I mean, besides the fact that it is very hard.
It's one of the
very
most
hard.
difficult games out there.
It is. You die over and over, but I think, and I could be wrong, there's a lot of speculation on the story, like the backstory of this game, but I think that's just to kind of underline the point that you have already died, and this is some kind of hell or purgatory that you are playing through. Which is interesting because that's a Western kind of style, but it was made by Japanese developers.
I think that's part of the point. The mystery of the backstory just allows you to dive deeper into your character of being like, who is he? Why is he here?
And I think that's kind of part of the fact that it's part of the attributes of this game that contribute to such a cult following, where people either love it or have never heard of it. And I love it. I love this game. It really speaks to me. And this is one of those rare instances where art is clearly visible in the medium of video game storytelling, because you have that, as I mentioned before, that Japanese background, the Japanese connotation, the Japanese creators for this game, setting it in a medieval Western world, and that ethnicity clash comes together in such a unique and amazing way. It's really something to see how today we can get mediums like video games that really push multiple backstories and cultures like that.
Well, yeah, weren't you saying something about dragons?
The dragons, the dragons. The original Western telling of a dragon is that it's a satanic figure. There's a story of a knight finds a dragon and a lion. He has to decide to helps the lion because that's a more godlike figure. And that's kind of rooted in Western culture. The dragon is evil. But in Eastern culture, in Asia, the dragon is a symbol of immortality and wisdom. It could mean several different things, but they all are pretty good. Dragon is a benign, great creature. So to see in this story the use of dragons, the way that they're used, they're kind of an ambiguous character because you fight them here and there, but you're not really sure if you're doing good, if they were doing good. It's the lines are kind of blurred, and whereas in an old Western medieval story, it would have been obvious, dragon's bad. In this, as you're struggling to define yourself, find out who you are, what you're doing there, that ethnic blend of different sort of backgrounds, different culture influences really contributes to the mystery of the game and makes it a much more rich experience. And when you come away from it, I think it does a lot more for you. Now, I will say something. The original box art for Dark Souls in Japan didn't even feature, like you can see we have this guy doing some sort of quest thing there. I see him going through Soul Box. The original one didn't even have that. It was just a campfire. And in Japan, they don't really feature one of the big things that they use for the main character is more of a vehicle for the plot than the focus of the plot. So they don't really feature that strong central character, and that's not something we're feeling in this.
Yeah, they usually go for less. They usually go for more ambiguous characters.
I don't know if you've ever played Bayonetta. Have you heard of that one?
I've never heard of that.
Okay, it's okay. That's another cult game. The character, the main character you play as, is just somewhat undefined. Not really sure, good guy, bad guy, just kind of doing our thing, and that's kind of a similar trend. It's kind of weird coming from the Western perspective. Japanese games feel weird, except Pokemon. I was okay with that.
Even there, you're an ambiguous character.
You are. Who
I just
are
realized
you?
that.
You name yourself. You choose everything.
You're a 10-year-old kid.
Yeah. Could you imagine just letting him go play with dragons and stuff? And nuts.
An awesome mom.
Oh yeah, none of that Tiger Mom. We actually read a book this year about Tiger Mother, the old style, Chinese style of child rearing. Definitely would not have let their kid go and play with the dragons and lizards that are running about. So, anyways, that kind of a looser segue, but that main central character that Japan stays away from and America really loves brings us to our next game that features the big one.
Huge.
Yeah. For this generation, I would almost liken him to Superman, Master Chief from the Halo franchise, and one of my favorites. I don't know what do you think? What do you think, Master Chief?
I think he's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Think about
he's
it.
Awesome.
You have no words can describe him.
Oh yeah,
except good ones.
Except good words, like awesome. He's awesome.
He's awesome.
Like awesome. But anyways, we're going to be looking now at something interesting that we're seeing in the trend from Halo 3 to Halo 4. Two separate trilogies in the Halo franchise. The first three featured that first-person shooter, pretty heavy campaign feel, but if the indication and the rumor that we're getting for Halo 4 is true, we're going to see kind of a shift into a stronger campaign, an even stronger development of Master Chief as a person, as a warrior, who he is as a human being, and that blend between those two aspects of him. So let's take a look at those clips right now. Now, Master Chief, I'll say Halo 3 was the reason I bought an Xbox 360. I originally had just gone with the Xbox, and I wasn't even going to get the 360. Halo 3 comes out, I was sold.
All your money goes out the window.
I was sold, yeah. That character is such a hero, such a champion of humanity in those first three, where he essentially single-handedly fights off this entire alien invasion, and then these terrible parasite things. I don't know if you did the flood.
I remember those, yeah.
Flood, nightmarish.
It's annoying.
Really scary. Oh, they were obnoxious, you know. Pretty scary, mostly. I don't mostly.
Mostly. There you
Aliens
go.
reference. I don't know if you caught that or not. But what we're seeing now, as we're on the verge of seeing Halo 4 come out, I think, is that this summer or next summer? I'm not. That's closing in.
Yeah, I think it's next summer.
I think it is next summer. I remember I pre-ordered it, so I'm excited for that.
So you
Already
have no
pre-ordered
idea
it.
when it comes out.
No idea. Very cool. I'm psyched about it. But what we're seeing is this is the story of Master Chief, where Halo 3 left off. He was jettisoned into deep space. No idea where he is. Halo 4 picks up, and it's about his journey home. What we're seeing here is kind of an interesting parallel between this story and the Iliad and the Odyssey. I don't know if you're familiar with those, but the Iliad is about this total war, Trojan War, all about that. It's all focused on that. And then the Odyssey is about a single person's journey home and is kind of reassimilation. That's tough.
It's a hard one to say.
Yeah, a lot of soft syllables in that. Reassimilation into human communities. And that's kind of the direction we're seeing, or at least the rumors are taking us with Halo 4. Also, I don't know if you've seen anything on the multiplayer, but they say that they're going to be giving a backstory on the multiplayer too. Now,
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, and if anything is indicative of that story that the American culture is looking for now, it's that. It's literally that shift that we were just talking about.
Well, have you ever played the multiplayer for Assassin's Creed?
I have played that multiplayer.
That one actually has a story behind it too,
Okay.
where it's like you're actually the bad guys in that story, and then you just jettison into this world of being like, look, you're training to kill this one guy.
Okay.
So this is our training field. We're gonna send you all into here,
Cool.
and and you're gonna train.
You know, I think that's a great example. That's one of the more nuanced game. So I'm kind of glad they did that because it would have been difficult to move that multiplayer without some kind of backstory. Already.
Exactly.
But the shooter, Master Chief, I think this might be one of the first shooters that has such a strong multiplayer. Team Fortress, does that have a multiplayer story behind it, or is it? Just,
I don't think so. I think it's just you start playing.
I thought so too. It's like a big multiplayer online. It's just kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're seeing that. Exactly what we were talking about. People are moving away from that first-person shooter experience to the shooter with a story behind the experience.
Yeah, and I think this is where it leaps and bounds over Modern Warfare, where they're finally putting in a backstory to Master Chief. Like that's what we want. We want to see how he got to that point.
Yeah, and it's something touching on that. It's more than just the how did they get here. It's who is he? Like who is Master Chief as a human being?
Yeah.
Not just the scientific process of becoming a Spartan, but what was the psychological Master Chief? What was he? Who was he beforehand? Where is he going to be after? And that sort of thing. Reminiscent of Skyrim, you get to build your own character.
Yep.
Dark Souls, trying to tie in all three here. That one's tough because it's such a rare experience. But you are seeing a strong American culture reflected in this story. It's the story of coming back from combat, and I mean that's where we are right now.
Exactly.
So seeing that reflected in video games is amazing. There's our American video game culture influence on one another. I think we touched on that at the beginning.
It's a whole circle.
Full circle. Good job. Give me that. Bam. I didn't think we would make it. We did. 2 days on that one there.
10 tacos.
10 tacos. This
3-hour wait.
Yeah, but we got there. Video games and culture, they are art, I would definitely argue, and art is a medium through which something is expressed. So even something like Pong says something. I mean, that one's very simple, very shallow,
It still
comparatively.
influences culture.
Yeah, there's still that gaming kind of culture, and it's how we spend our recreation time is just as important as how we spend our work time, if not more,
Yep.
'cause that's where we
That's
to
where we
express
relax.
ourselves freely.
Yep.
Very nice. Well, thank you for coming out here today.
No
Sorry we
problem.
lost Jared, but thanks for tuning in, and this has been Dan Hahn.